Welcome everybody to the Friday Night Live call-in show as we go ahead and get ready to listen to you. This is your show. This is the call-in show for you. How else can I say it? It's a time for you to come up on stage, talk about the things that you want to talk about. This is designed for you, and this is the place for you to come in and say what's on your mind. Obviously, we got to keep it, stay out of politics if we can, right? Maybe you can dibble a little bit, but let's not go too hard in the paint. Also, no cursing. Let's try not to get too deep into religion, although we're open to it, right? It's a social dig, it's a place where we can have conversations, and obviously, one of the most important things facing humanity right now, in this moment, right at this moment, is the UFO phenomena and how humanity handles this, what we do with it. So obviously, that's something that is definitely acceptable to talk about tonight. And we'll be doing that and a lot more. I got the link in the chat for anybody who wants to join the stage. It is pinned at the top of the chat. Come on in. Give your thoughts on the phenomena. A lot of stuff has happened recently. If you have an opinion on anything you may have saw out there in UFO land, any conversations that have been had recently, it's perfect time for you to come up. Make some comments on how you feel about that. That's what this show is for. It's the opportunity to do exactly that. And so we are here, definitely getting ready to get into the conversation here. Come join the conversation. That is the motto here. Friday Night Live call-in show. And I will be adding people here to the stage momentarily. I see we already have somebody in the back. And the more the merrier. So come up on stage. Don't be afraid. Come and speak your mind, right? I know you probably talk about the phenomena in your circles at home, right? You got a lot of people who, believe me, I know, you got a lot of people who don't believe in the phenomena or are on the more skeptical side that don't want to entertain your conversation, right? So it's almost like you're talking to a brick wall a lot of the time. Or they'll give you a few minutes of time to listen to what you're saying, and then they'll get sick of it and say, okay, we're done talking about that. Right? We all have it in our lives. So this is a place for you to come and get it off your chest, right? It doesn't matter what opinion you have. It could be a wild opinion on something, but that's okay. That's what we're here for, to talk it through. And we're open to hearing everybody's opinion on what it is that we might be dealing with. Because I think the one thing we can agree on, and we should be able to agree on, is no one knows the answer, right? So we start getting in trouble, I think, and even though I've had my own experience, I've had different types of experiences as well. I've had orbs that I have on film, right? So not just saying I have orbs, but I have it on film, which is evidence, which is proof. I also have, what else do I have? I have the UFO sighting on film, clear as day. I have... there was phantom knocking here at this house. If you guys have been around long enough, then you remember that on film, caught on Ring camera as well. And the shadow person, right? The shadow person at the end of the hall, clear as day, clear image of a shadow person. I have it on film, right? So come and talk about some of the things, as weird as they may sound. Come up on stage. Let us know what you have. Maybe you'd be able to share something, some visuals that you may have, any images or videos, may be able to come up on stage and share those. That would be awesome to be able to see some of the things that other people have caught out there, because there's a lot to catch. If one thing I always ask, when I hear a skeptical position of there isn't anything up there, or it's impossible for these things to be here. The one thing I always wonder is, have you ever taken time to go outside and look up? Have you ever taken the camera outside, said, let me just spend some time looking up? Because I'll tell you, these things are up there all the time. We have a friend of the show, Tom King, who is the sky watcher extraordinaire. He's actually one of the main guys who filmed the Phoenix Lights. If you know Tom King, which I believe the Phoenix Lights, I think I saw today, he said it's the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights. So maybe we could talk about that as well. that actually just falls right into place. So yeah, let me put that on deck. We'll talk about Phoenix Lights, plus some other things as well. But he has an extraordinary setup. I'm talking about cameras on the roof that are monitoring the skies full time. And so, because he has that setup, he's caught a lot of different stuff up there in the sky, a lot of undeniable things, a lot of things making weird moves, 90-degree turns, 45-degree turns in some cases, just amazing stuff. And the reason why he has that data and he has that evidence and that proof is because he has cameras that are focusing up at the sky. Imagine that. Imagine taking cameras, pointing them at the sky, and catching something on film. That's as simple as it is in order to have an experience with the phenomena. A lot of us, move through life looking down at our phones or never really looking up, right? And I'm even guilty of that myself because since I had my amazing UFO sighting, 47 objects, I haven't really looked up in the sky since then. I sat and I thought about it. I was like, some people go through life, they have no UFO sightings. Some people go through life, they have maybe one UFO sighting. And then, the common denominator is how often are you looking up at the sky, right? What are your intentions? And I won't say that my intentions were any different when I had my sighting. Technically, I was brought outside by someone else that said, "Hey, that's weird over there. What is that?" So technically, if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have had my UFO sighting. But I had the state of mind to go grab a camera immediately, go outside and start filming. So, lesson there is always be prepared to film. If you have a camera, most of us do. If you have a cell phone, a good thing to do, and we talked about this when I had Tom King on the show. A good thing to do is to program your camera button, like a quick button, right? A side button. So program your side button to immediately bring your camera up. A lot of phones now, more modern phones, already have that option available, but it's one of the main things you could do if you want to put yourself in a position to capture data. And data is key here, right? And that's not just going out to us experiencers, that's going out to skeptics. Because I would just, I think if one of the hardest skeptics, I don't know who you could pick in that category, but just pick one of the hardest skeptics. If you were able to go out with that person every day for a month, right, and you had their full undivided attention, and the whole purpose of this interaction was to monitor the skies, I think there's a really good chance by the end of that month that this hardcore skeptic would have seen something that is unexplainable, right? And so I think that's one of the biggest reasons why you even have skeptics out there is because they're simply not looking, not taking the time to look up at the sky, And if you don't look up, guess what? You probably won't see anything if you don't look up. If you don't look up. And I think it's simple as that. So I would challenge you to any skeptic that you come across that is just has a hard stance on, it's impossible for these things to be here. Instead of trying to make your case, just ask them, do you ever skywatch? Do you ever take time to go look up? Have you ever, thought about sitting some cameras out to look up at the sky? They'll monitor the sky. You can go through the data later. Have you ever thought about doing that? It's pretty simple when you think about it. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get that started. It is the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights, right? One of the most epic mass sighting events. We just talked about this the other day when we did the UFO news show. One of the most epic mass sighting events of our time. 1997 is when it was. I'm thinking March 13th, 1997, if I could remember. 1997, yeah. If I can remember correctly. Um, these lights just kind of glided across the sky, and they were visible for I think like an hour, 2 hours, something like that. A long period of time, enough time for thousands of people to witness these things up there. You had Kurt Russell, actor and pilot, which we didn't know at the time, right? He came forward, obviously, within the last 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, something like that, where he came out and said, "Hey, actually, I was a pilot and I was flying into the airport and I actually witnessed those." And so you have all these individuals out there, and you would think moments like that would be moments that would confirm the phenomena for a lot of people. You would think so, right? But even in a situation like that, you had government step in and say, "Hey, we were shooting flares," right? And I think the idea is for a lot of people is that they did go up and shoot flares, but they did it in conjunction with the sighting or after the sighting to kind of confuse the narrative. If you've ever seen the video, maybe we could bring it up here. Maybe I can share it on the show. Then flares don't hang in the air that long. For one, usually don't stay, in formation for two, and there's just a lot of things about that make it, seem like it definitely wasn't flares, right? And these things traveled from, I think they were first seen in Nevada before they crossed into Arizona. So these things were in the sky, traveling across the sky. This formation of objects. Some say it was one complete craft by itself. Some say, think it was individual things, but from some of the witness accounts, some say as it went over, the stars kind of blacked out, which led them to feel like this was a one huge, huge solid object. So when you have, and that's the thing, right? I think, and I pretty much I could say probably I know if that same sighting happens in the daytime, if it's this big huge craft, then that's the undeniable thing. I think nighttime kind of obscures what it is that you're seeing, so you can, a lot of people can write it off to other things, like the flare explanation. The flare explanation wouldn't have worked had it been daytime, right? Or even some semblance of light in the sky. It just wouldn't have been possible to write it off as that. So then we have a totally different situation. Had it been a few hours earlier in the daytime, because I think it started right around 8 p.m. And that's right after it gets dark. So you have to think about that. How just a few hours of time could have changed the whole perspective on how people perceive what they were seeing in the sky. And I say that because I think my sighting, I, and I'm not out here tooting my own horn, but I can say that the object that I saw, 47 objects in a formation, I'll say blessed enough to see this in the daytime, perfect conditions, 12 noon, clear blue sky, undeniable about what it was that I was seeing. Saw all these objects just disappear. So they weren't obscured by nighttime to where you could probably write them off as, something else. And even if they were to disappear, because they turned the lights off. These things, were physical things. And that just, when I think about the Phoenix lights, I think about if those situations had changed, had it been 12 noon in Phoenix, no clouds in the sky, this incident happens. It goes across the sky for a matter of hours. Thousands of people see this thing. I think disclosure would have been here 30 years ago, right? It's 29 years, I think, 29th anniversary. Yeah. So 30 years ago. Pretty, when you think about it, pretty amazing. And I'll tell you this, as far as recently as maybe a year ago, I'd say a year, no, maybe 2 years ago. So you're sitting thinking. I had a conversation. I'm sure it was on After Hours where I was talking about how another mass sighting would be inevitable. Like we would definitely, there's going to be a time here that we're going to get another mass sighting, but who knows when it's going to be? Is it even going to be in our lifetime? Is it going to be, something recent, something in the recent future, something that we can look forward to and take part in? And there's just no way really to tell because that could have been one and done. Then you never see anything like that again for 50 years. But we happen to get, after having that conversation, we happen to get the drones, the New Jersey drones. But once again, under the cover of darkness. Imagine if those things, if the drones in New Jersey, imagine if it was middle of the day. I think you'd be able to look at that flap a little differently as well, because I'm under the feeling that a lot of those things, some of those things were obviously explainable. If there were some things in the sky right here in my city, and they were there every day for over 2 months, I'm sure some other people would put drones up to kind of try to get a closer look. So there's no doubt that some of the things in the sky would have been drones. When you have a passing moment like Phoenix Lights, where it's just like, okay, they're up for 2 hours, which is technically enough time to maybe head down to the airport, hop in your Cessna or your helicopter, and kind of get up there to see something. Still enough time to do that. And I'm sure there were some people that did. But when you have a 2 month period like that, I'm sure that there's a percentage, maybe even a good percentage of what we were seeing there were drones, but there were just things that were not explainable too, right? And I think looking at the war that we're in right now, we have these. There was at some point, which the government, I'll give them their props. They did come out during the New Jersey drone flap. There was these rumors that drones were being shot off from an Iranian mothership, right? If you recall that. Well, we're seeing the drones that Iran has, and these aren't those drones. These aren't anything close to what we were seeing. But the government did come out and say that they weren't. It wasn't Iran. Um, all while confirming that it wasn't us and it wasn't any of our adversaries, and they just didn't know what it was. So I think Phoenix Lights. I think when you look at it, and I don't know because I wasn't there to be able to tell if Phoenix Lights was one huge craft or if it was individual lights. I could go either way depending on the evidence there. But I will say that a show of presence. I won't even say force because there wasn't anything threatening about the moment, right? But it was a show of presence in both of those situations. And I always ask, like, when we talk about contact and we talk about having these disclosure moments, are these times where these things are attempting or trying to have a contact moment? Phoenix Lights, were the as slow as these things were going, things or thing, if it's one huge craft, it's obvious that it's trying to be seen, right? There's no doubt about that. That it's like, okay, here I am. I'm moving slowly through the sky. I'm a huge craft, or hey, I'm a bunch of little craft. Look, in trying to give a disclosure moment, and we just not accept it, right? We not accept it as that, or a good portion of people did not accept it as that. So it's like, well, how many ways, if you're extraterrestrials, how many ways can you try to make contact, direct contact with human beings that are sitting there on the ground? You see them down there on the ground. Then it's like, how can you compute besides landing, which is a very dangerous thing to do if you're an extraterrestrial? If I were an extraterrestrial, I wouldn't be landing down there with the human beings and getting out, to bring disclosure. I wouldn't do that at all. I'd say, hey, look, I'm up here. I know you can see me. I can see you looking at me. I'm looking at you. We're here in the sky. Let's What can we do? Can we move forward in these, in this confirmation? But human beings just not, they're not taking they're not getting the message. And like I said, if the New Jersey drones were anything like that, a moment where it's like, hey guys, we're sitting here, we're parked in the sky, and we're trying to let you guys know that we're here, and then we simply just kind of let the moment slide by, like, well, what is it going to take, right? And so the White House on the lawn moment that people talk about, I think that's unrealistic. I think that's unrealistic based on what I just stated. Like, who in their right mind, if you're looking down here at what, especially right now, with we're shooting up stuff, bombing things all over the planet. If you're an extraterrestrial, you're like, nah, I'm not good. I'm not gonna land down there. I'm not gonna do that. Either they stop what they're doing because they realize, hey, we're up here, or I don't know what the other, what the ultimatum is there. But if you're extraterrestrials and you're trying to make contact with human beings, you know, I guess what they could do is, I don't know. I don't know, because I would say put on some sort of display, right? But then what type of reaction do you get from, like, military, for instance, right? They put on some display up there aside from just showing in numbers. What other type of just, interaction, or what type of action could be taken by extraterrestrials in order to get the attention of the public? I think what it is that there's a lot of people that know about UFOs, have studied UFOs, understand some of these things, and maybe some of the things that they're doing, and some of the things that are going on. But there's more of the public that isn't tuned into that, right? So I think and we talked about this as well. I think you have to have some moments like COVID, for instance, right, where the world was able to kind of stop everyone at one time and focus on one particular thing, right? If we had more moments like that, where the world can be in tune at one time to be able to, take part in an experience like that, right? Or at least using that time to kind of educate the part of the world that may not be fully, versed on what it is that's going on. Because I think if you have a lot of people, look at this, for instance, if 80% of the world were people who had experiences before, or knew someone that did, and totally understood that there was an extraterrestrial presence, if 80% of the population fell into that category, then it it doesn't take as much, right? I think you could have a Phoenix Lights and it immediately translates what's going on here. Or you could have a New Jersey drone situation and it immediately computes to a majority of the population what's taking place. And I just think that there is, so small of a group of individuals who are versed in this and who understand this, that, it, for someone that says this should totally be like a big flag waving when you see this happen, for a lot of people it's just not that way, because they have never thought like that, or they've never, gone down that thought path, right? So I think it's going to take a moment where everyone and we're slowly getting there. If you think about it, it's being talked about in a lot of different circles. We'll use like social media influencers, for instance. And I've talked about that as well. Like, one of the shoes that needs to drop as far as getting or educating that part of the world that doesn't really get it is to have celebrities, social media influencers, and those type of people pick up the conversation. And I was saying this at a time where it wasn't happening, and then it started happening. You had people who, huge influencers with millions of followers, subscribers, who had never talked about the subject. They work in a whole different niche, video games, or they do, you know, DIY, or they do something totally different where their channel is not talking about science or anything in that nature. And you saw a lot of those people in the last 2 years at least make a video or two on the subject, right? So it is kind of going in the way that it needs to go. And so it's like, oh, can we get there quicker? Because, we need most of the population to be aware that these displays that we're seeing are likely times when they're trying to reach out and say something. So just want to get this thing going. So kind of talking for a little bit here and get ready to bring some people in here in a minute. Um, Definitely appreciate everybody coming in, and I think I saw super chat, Miss Catherine Jones. Thank you so much for your support here. Yes, you definitely feel better, Miss Catherine Jones, and yes, catch us on replay. Got a bunch of cool stuff coming too, Miss Catherine. So we'll be in touch. Thank you for your support tonight. And let me just say hi to a few other people out there I know that just came in. Um, okay, yes, C Tech Mateo is out there. Just got home from work. Yeah, well, it's time to get it on. Happy Friday, right? I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Let me start this up here. Hold on. This is for everybody who had a tough week this week at work. Happy Friday. This applause is for you. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Let's see. Kitty Catty Whack. Thank you for coming in. Yes. And Mateo agrees Tom King is the man. Phoenix Lights, yeah, anniversary today. We're just talking about that. 29 years. Lil Camp 5-1 present. Appreciate you coming in. Lil Camp 5-1. The Jaquetta saying hello, friends. Hola, hola, amiga. Thank you for coming on in. Let's see. We got William Miller, U1C. Say they're going to reveal aliens and say they're here to help us, but in reality, they've been our overlords for thousands of years. Hey, I wouldn't disagree with you, William Miller. I wouldn't disagree with you. And this is the reason why when I run across people, and I've interviewed hundreds of people, but when I come across people that just swear that these things are love and light, and I'm like, how do you know that though? How do you know that these things are all love and light? They're supposed to be different species that we're interacting with. So how can you speak for everything out there and say it's all love and light? It can't be. Statistics say that it's not possible for it to all be love and light. Nothing is 100%. So even if it's 1% malevolent, that might be the 1% that we're interacting with right now. And it's just like for people to, have that idea that just everything dealing with this, oh, I felt it. Okay, you felt it. But I'll tell you what, human beings, a human con man can make you feel good about yourself too and can deceive you, right? And that's a human that's living on the same planet, came up on the same planet as yourself. A con man can make you feel comfortable and make you feel like everything's okay before they pull the con. So how are you smarter than the extraterrestrial in the sense that you know what their true intentions are? And so I always say, and I've asked people who have had experiences, and I would say things like, they're telling you, they're giving you this message, right? They're giving you this download. But how do you know that you're not being deceived? Like, what is it about what you know that lets you know you're not being deceived, right? Because essentially, if you look at it, people that get messages from these visitations, the first thing that those people do is they go out into the broader public and they spread that message, right? So we deal with governments and we talk about disinformation and psyops all the time that happen right here with human beings on Earth. So if your fellow human being could put information out there to be spread that isn't true or is meant to deceive, then what makes you think that something way more intelligent than you wouldn't pull out the same playbook? And I know a lot of people say, especially who's that? Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can't wait till he has his sighting. That's going to be a day that I'm waiting for. But he always says, you kind of put your human projections on what these things might do, and there's a lot of things you can look at that would say they're probably more alike than not when it comes to human beings. Because for one, they've been rumored to be like bipedal, have two arms, two legs in a lot of cases. They travel in vehicles, they travel in craft the same way that humans do. There's a lot of things you could point to that says that they're probably more alike than not when it comes to certain things. The reason why they'd even want to interact with human beings would mean because they likely see some similarities or see some commonality in the speed. If they came up on a planet of slugs, intelligent slugs, do you think they would intermingle with slugs, or would you intermingle with slugs? If we got on a spaceship and went to planet Xenon and got out and it was a bunch of snails, like do is there anything that makes you want to interact with that? Like, is there any commonality? Is there any even idea that, hey, maybe we could even get across to these things, whatever they are? So the fact that they've probably been to other planets where they ran into, things that they could not align with, right? And so they find a planet of other bipedal individuals and they're like, hey, wait a minute, we can probably get across to these guys. We're sort of similar in a lot of ways, right? So I think that kind of kicked that whole idea out the door of, when I hear Neil deGrasse Tyson say things like that, like, why would they want to do? Well, it could be very likely that they, with billions of universes out there and thousands of billions of Earth-like planets that may carry life, and how many of those are carrying intelligent life, you can't think that it would be so different going outwards. Yeah, it's probably very different on a lot of those planets as far as their life goes, but it's probably a good group of those planets that are very similar to what we're doing. If we went out there and we were trying to communicate with some species, we'd probably be looking for something that looked like us, right? At least on some level. It makes sense. It makes sense, I would think. And I'm sorry, I saw your message, William. It got me going, man. That's a great message, though, man. Let me go ahead and star that because that's the part that a lot of people don't want to engage with or talk about, right? They only want to talk about the love and light, and that's why I run away from people that think they know everything or come across as if they know what this is all about. Not possible. Not possible. Let's see. William also said, I will never trust your government. They're only there to steal and lie to you, period. And that's all governments across the globe. Jessica S. Appreciate you coming on in. And I see you guys back there. I see you guys. So I'll bring you guys up here on stage in just a moment. Lil Cam 51. Let's see. Yeah, please. We appreciate if you hit the like button. If you take a moment to do so, that'd be awesome. Woo Rider DG. Hello, Rob GC. Bringing the ufology receipts to all those in the streets. Receipts is hashtag receipts. Let me give that up for Woo Rider DG. You got to have receipts, man, or at least try. That's all I ask. Try to have receipts, man. Stories can only take you so far. Try to have receipts. Skeptics want to see receipts, right? I don't blame them for wanting to see receipts. I've had my own sighting, but if I'm talking to someone else, it would be awesome if they could show me something too along to go with the story. That'd be awesome, right? It just adds to the data. Bob Marley, Rob, we got sold. Jesus Christ is Lord and devil is my real friend. Look up Our Lady Zaytun or Fatima around the world. Let me start that comment and I will definitely do that, Bob Marley. Let's see. Rhinus DG. Okay, got you. Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg's second trailer drop. Yep, we're going to talk about that too for sure tonight. Once we start getting people on stage here, just doing my opening monologue thing here to get your juices cooking, to get you on stage to talk. Let me see. Simply Coco, hey Simply Coco, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing on up. Let's see. Let's see here. The Jaquetta AI now can project all sorts of things in the sky, even the second coming of Jesus, as well as other deities. Some folks will fall for anything. Yeah. Yeah. And you see it all around you, right? You see those type of people that will just fall for anything. And that's why a lot of people on the outside look at and I hate to say ufology because I hate that word because it just sounds like Scientology or some other cult, right? And then, yes, there is a part of this community that just will believe anything that they're told and anything that they see. And that is not good. It's not good. It's not a good thing. C-Tex, snails are beings too. Yeah, we probably just can't communicate with those guys. The Jaquetta has already been proven that octopus are alien entities, and we offer calamari at restaurants. I look at I say that all the time. Cuttlefish, squid, octopus. I believe those things probably weren't from here, and they could have developed here, over time. But I think those things were brought from somewhere else. Like if you went down the street and got some pollywogs. I said pollywogs. Wow, got some pollywogs from the creek and come home and put them in a bowl, right? They don't belong in the bowl. They don't belong in the bowl, but you've transported them and put them in a bowl. And so that's kind of the idea here. William saying, I'll never trust a gray. I'm not into butt stuff. That's funny. That's funny. Okay. Probability say some aliens are dirty hippie communists. Maybe so, man. I can't say that they're not. But here's what I'm gonna do here. I think I've been talking long enough here to open this up. Let me bring some people on stage and get some of your opinions here. I have our guy, Mr. Cosmic Joe Chronicles. If I can get him up here. Give me 1 second, Cosmic Joe. Cosmic Joe, and then I have Jerry. Hey Jerry, how you doing?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Doing okay, doing okay. I'll get you started off because Cosmic Joe, he's always up here and he's a good guy. But we'll start off with you, Jerry. What did you have anything you wanted to talk about specifically? Maybe anything we talked about already, or
Mind if I ask you a question?
sure.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
It's a hot dog a sandwich.
Yep.
I don't know. What do you think, Cosmic Joe? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah, more like a sub. You can say it's a sub.
That wasn't the question though, Cosmic Joe. Is it a sandwich?
No, it is a sub.
It's a sub, not a sandwich?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Okay, okay.
It's the
But
same
All
you know,
right.
roll.
it's got a sub roll, so it's the same a sub.
So what do you
Is
know about the extraterrestrial presence, Jerry? We got you on stage. What do you know about the extraterrestrial presence? What do you think about it? Is it real to you? Is it? Have you seen anything? What do you?
I mean,
What do you
I'd hook
know?
up with one for sure. You know, if it's bad enough, I'll hook up with it.
Yeah, I mean, thing is, you might have that opportunity, man, because a lot of people have seen these things, filmed these things. They are definitely, for whatever reason, they're here. You
I
may
mean, if
have
it's
that
bad enough,
opportunity,
I'll let it
Jerry.
film me too. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well, you might be getting a visit from those graves here tonight, man. So, yeah, okay. That's fun. I mean, if you're gonna come up, just make sure you're not doing too much. But that's okay. We appreciate you coming on stage, Jerry. It's all good.
I'm gonna get
Um,
a I'm gonna get a hillbilly hot dog in Russ Virginia, and they got one that's this big and all piled up with all kinds of stuff.
yeah. Well, Jerry did say he wanted to hook up with one, and we know that William's talking about those things like the probe, man. So I think Jerry might be biting off more he can chew. No pun
I'll
intended
say.
here. I didn't have. Do I have the boomtis pop? Oh man, yeah. So yeah, but as far as this goes, Cosmic Joe, I talked about a lot here. It's the way that you look at this. You have to think about where or why these things are here, and then what is it going to take for other individuals to kind of open their eyes to what it is that we're dealing with. And here's another part of it: a lot of people go far off into the saying, "Hey, I know why they're here. This is why they're here. They come from this particular planet, this particular star system, and the reason why they're here is they're here to do this." And I interact with them all the time. And I'm not saying that people don't, right? But I don't think that that's the part of the conversation that we're supposed to be having right now, right? Because I think likely the information is probably going to be false. Even if you believe that it's true and you were told this by some extraterrestrial, I would weigh to believe that it's probably not accurate information, right? So I think it's a disservice, kind of why our community is looked at in the way that it is because people will bring that to the forefront first. And instead of just embrace or having someone converse or embrace just the fact that things are here and kind of just having that conversation, a lot of people want to throw all the extra stuff in there, of they're this type of being, they're here for this particular reason, and they've traveled here from there, and I just think that it's even if that information at the end of the day ends up to be truthful and factual information, it just doesn't help the opening eyes of everyone, of a lot of the other people, which is the awakening thing that we need to do, right? So I think when people get into doing that, I think it's just too much too soon. I always say, like, if you meet someone of the opposite or same sex, depending on how you roll, when you go out on that first date, right? You don't give them everything, right? You show your best side. You give them the best Cosmic Joe, right? You don't
Yeah.
let them know about the other stuff, about the I leave the toilet seat up. You don't let them know about that part. They don't find that out till later, right? So you kind of hold that information back. And it's the same idea. I think you got to, people, if you hit them with the woo 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 side of it immediately, I think it turns a lot of people off. Because I don't think, if they're coming to the table to have the conversation, I don't think that they were anticipating that much, that deep of information initially. Like that maybe they want to talk about, hey, I saw somewhere in the sky. Oh wow, okay. So there's weird things in the sky. Yeah, there's I've seen a couple of these things that are weird. They're just up there. I have no clue what's going on. And you kind of progress that conversation over time from that. into more of the weirder, wilder stuff. Because I think just like if you go on that date and you hit them with the, you pull up your shirt and you have on a Tom and Jerry T-shirt, a Tom and Jerry onesie or something on underneath your clothes, probably not going on the second date, right? So you save the weird for a little bit at a later time. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to throw an analogy out there. How do you feel about that, Joe?
Or else he can wear a shirt like this on her first date.
Let me see. Let me get that up here, Cosby. Hold on. Let me get you up here. Kind of. Okay. Isn't that from Star Wars, right?
No,
Serving man. So
no.
talk about that. Talk about that, Cosmic Joe. Let us know about that. A lot of people don't know that story. A lot of people don't know that story.
This is
Uh,
Twilight
yeah, go
Zone
ahead.
episode. Twilight Zone episode called "To Serve Man."
Twilight
And
Zone episode, The Serve Man. What? Tell them what the idea was behind it.
well, the UFOs, the aliens come, right? And they say they got a magic elixir that could cure all diseases. So they give it to us, and then all of a sudden they're taking us aboard ships, or their spaceships. And the one guy, the scientist, he goes to the get the this go on the spaceships and stuff. And one girl who was deciphering the book and said, don't go on that ship. Why? The book is called To Serve Man. It's a cookbook. It's a
It
cookbook. It's a cookbook. So, he says, Serve Me Man since 1962.
and it
Um,
says what at the bottom. It says sooner or later we'll all be on the menu. All of
exactly.
us.
What a piece
Yeah.
I will make. But
We
Sebastian,
might all be on the menu, Cosmic Joe. And that's here's the thing. And this is I talked to someone about this too. One of these individuals who said, no, they're here for love and light. No, I had this feeling and it just felt really good. And
not
I felt
all of
really good
them
about it.
are.
So I said this. I said, okay, now if you're holding that, you're standing on that, would you be willing if those beings landed, the ones you're talking about, and they were right there, would you take your family and walk over and take and put your family at risk by taking them because you feel so good about this and
Yeah,
you feel that these things are so kind? Would you be willing to take your family across that line and go hang out with these extraterrestrials? Like, do you feel that good about it? And I was like, the answer probably should be no, because
yeah,
you should step across the line yourself to show everybody first. Like, show us that these extraterrestrials are kind and they're here for the right reasons. Then maybe we'll kind of come on board with what it is that you're saying. But we're not just going to step across this line because you feel like the extraterrestrial presence is here to save the planet. Like, it's just not, there's no proof of that. And they had to go through in their own lives, wherever they were from, they had to go through some point of conflict, maybe millions of years ago, but they had to. And I bet you, and I think it's been proven because by one of Tom DeLonge's stories, that these craft that we're seeing likely have the ability to defend themselves from other things, us, and maybe other things they come across out in space. So if they have weapons to defend themselves, what makes you think that they wouldn't have weapons to use offensively on an offensive level to be the aggressors in the situation, right? It only makes sense. And so it never lands well with me when we have people out there that just say, no, 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 they're here for love and light. And no, that's exactly why they're here. We have someone else in the back, a good friend we had last week, Cosmic Joe. You know him now. You guys have already met. Let's bring him up here with us here, Mr. Mateo. How you doing,
Hey,
sir?
Mateo.
What's going on there, guys? Good to see y'all. Happy
Good to
Friday.
see you.
You
Happy
too.
Friday, yes, sir. We're going down a rabbit hole, man. We're going a bunch of rabbit holes, actually. If you've heard everything we've talked about so
hmm
far, To Serve Man. Speak on that real quick. Were you familiar with To Serve Man?
No, I never saw that particular Twilight Zone episode. I was just reading
Oh,
about it now. I did not see that one, and
it's on YouTube, I'm sure.
yeah, oh yeah,
I get it on my TikTok page too.
yep. But I know that's the one where they talked about, harvesting humans and all that other stuff. So it's an interesting take on it. I mean, Twilight Zone always kind of had an interesting take on a lot of different things, especially extraterrestrial, and it was
This
fun
dude,
series to watch. But
the alien, is the one who played Lurch
hmm
on the Adams Family.
Oh
Yeah,
wow, okay,
Ted,
awesome.
Ted
And I
Cassidy. Yeah.
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch that episode. I've seen it before, but once again, science fiction, science fact. I haven't watched it since I've understood that these things are here actually all the time. So that'd be a good one to go back and watch
yep,
because we literally could be on the menu. It's just there's no reason to not think that we are. We're bringing
and
Bim
humans.
Jim to the stage. Jim is in the back. Let's bring him up with us here. Hey Jim, how you doing?
Hey Jim.
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been working hard today. But
Good.
can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep, we could hear you good. Very
Okay.
good.
You mentioned receipts, right? And I thought
Receipts.
receipts. Yeah, and just today I was doing something. I was working on that just today. And I saw a video on YouTube and I watched this video and they're talking about uh uh UFOs too big to move, so they bury them or build a building on top of them. Now, if you had one of those UFOs, that would be a receipt, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I watched their video, and they were talking about the one north of Seoul, Korea, and
That's what I think
Yes.
it is.
there's a
Oh, we
very
looked at that.
thin bit of land between Seoul, Korea, and the north. The border with North Korea. So it's a very small area. Now they were talking on and on about that, but nobody in the chat anywhere, nobody said, "Well, why don't you go look at it?" Nobody said that. And I thinking,
Yeah.
well, why don't you just go look for flip's sake? So I did some further research myself, and I used Google Translate, and I by using that and copy and pasting in the Korean language, I found Korean ufologist or ufology, the whole Korean ufology scene. Now, it's not
hmm
too big, but there are people there in Korea who are very interested in ufology. So I thought, well, why not contact one of them and say, could you take a camera in your car and drive up there and have a look around and see what's up there? Because in the image that you see, it's a Google Earth image. You see roads. There are roads near this thing. So
hmm
why doesn't somebody just drive up there with a camera and look around? Walk up to the door, knock on the door. If somebody opens the door, you say, "Do you have a UFO in there?" Why doesn't somebody do that or even think?
You,
No, nobody even thought of that. So I
I'll
did
tell
the
you what. Yeah, go ahead.
so I
What
did the
else?
research by
hmm
using using Google Translate, Korean language, all this sort of thing, so I could find the ufology scene in Korea, and I I uh, I did find I was looking for that Google Earth image somewhere, and I only found it in one place, but I couldn't read the Korean or anything or translate it. So, but it seems somebody there in Korea is aware of this idea that there could be a UFO with a building built on
Do
top of
we
it.
have coordinates for this location? Does
We
anybody have the
do.
coordinates?
It's on Google Earth. I've not found it on Google Earth. I didn't waste my
Eh,
time doing that, but apparently it is. I will look for it on Google Earth, but I don't.
I,
I haven't seen it.
I'll tell you what, we did a episode on this on the after hours, me and Drew, and we actually someone put the coordinates in the chat, and we brought it up. And on that particular episode, this thing looked like a UFO from the sky. Looking down on it, it was the shape of a UFO. It was round. And if you didn't know any better, you would think it looked like a UFO just landed down in the middle of some trees. What we were able to do though is during that week, the next week leading up to the next after hour show, I actually was doing some research on it myself, and I got the location for it, and I did the street view. It actually gives you a street view, so the roads Jim is talking about, it lets you go street view up that road all the way up to the front entrance of what this is, and you can see what it is from the side. You get like a partial side view of what this thing is and what it turned out to be. And I'm trying to see if I have the data here. It's on my other computer. But what it is it's actually it's a radar system for for airplanes, for jumbo jets. It's some sort of array, and it literally underneath that thing that looks like a UFO on top, it's open. It's an open area underneath there, so it's like raised up off of the ground, and it's almost like a satellite dish almost. And so definitely wasn't a UFO. And to go take it a step further, that's the one everybody was pointing at. But take it a step further, Rep Burleson was just on a news interview with Stephen Greer, with Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yep.
And Rep Burleson said he was going to go out. He had been told about this location where this UFO was so big they had to build a building around it. And he was going to go there, but it's sensitive military installation, some government that has to do with us. So he stated that he might not even be able to get in there, but he's going to try. And then they asked Stephen Greer about it because he's not under NDAs. And Stephen Greer was like, yeah, it's the one we hear about, the one in, South Korea, and then, other locations. And so the reporter asked Rep Burleson if the Korea one was the building that everybody's talking about. And what he said was, I can tell you that the one that everybody is showing and looking at online that's not it. And so he was able to further confirm that South Korea location is not the building at all. And we looked at it. We had a pretty good look at it with the street view that I had. It took you right up to the front gate, and it had signs, as Jim was saying, in Korean, and we translated it. And the sign said, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said something along the lines of whatever it was. The airplane facility has to do with their commercial jets out there. It's like a radar thing that kind of positions and tells them where they're at. It has to do with that. But yeah, we dove deep into it, and we pretty much debunked it by the next week. So it's not that. It's definitely not that.
So Greer, but Greer, is he the one who's insisting that there is a big UFO?
Yes. So, and that's the thing. That's the thing. That's where I was like, okay, we'll see, Greer, you're stepping across that line, and this is where that your credibility starts to get messed with a little bit, because it's already confirmed that South Korea location is not
okay.
It. And so for him to continue to kind of press the issue that it is, that affects his credibility, man. Most people know that that's not the location. And it's like you're on the national news kind of saying that it is, or that it might be one of the locations, and it's not. You gotta stop that, Dr. Stephen Greer.
Didn't Ross Coulthard throw out the possibility of Greenland too, and all of that talk?
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about different places, but one thing Ross Coulthard said recently is that location is going to come up. It's going to come out. There's enough people looking for it. he did confirm that you can see this location from Google Earth, so it's visible. So the sleuths, the online sleuths, are gonna find it. They found that South Korea location, and I'll tell you what, when we first saw it, we were like, "Whoa, that has to be it."
Mm.
They also asked Ross, "Was the building the same shape as the UFO?" And he said yes. He was able to confirm that. So there's an update out there. Someone's gonna find where it's at, and
Hmm.
but it isn't the one. Yeah, the South Korea one was really compelling at first until you see it from the ground, and then you see what it is. We did research. I brought up I had a presentation on it, on what it was, and it wasn't ours.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to test those guys like Greer. He's one I've tested too. And Coulthard, they should be tested, when they make a
Oh
statement
yeah.
like that. And yeah, that's interesting. So I wondered, so I constructed a scenario. What if there's this farmer, he's got 1,000 acres of land somewhere in the US there, and, desert kind of land, and one day there's a flood and this object starts washing out of a bank. And he looks at it. He says, "Oh, sure looks like a UFO." Well, first of all, the last thing he wants to do is phone up the government. Obviously, you don't want to phone the government. And so, how would you deal with that? I would contact uh, UFO science guys. Contact those people, and they will, and very secretly try to, keep it hidden, but ask them, what would they do, and would ask them if they'd come over and check it out, take samples and all that, take like 100 samples and send them all over the world to different countries, different scientists in different places, and send them all over the place so that they can't be all scooped up and taken away, by the men in black or somebody like that, right? This is the kind of way I do it. And I have some image files, 15 different image files that I took with my camera. And I think there's a ghost, very clear in the image in the daytime. And but I hid them all over the place. I hid them in flash drives and various secret places, tried to hide them away from the internet because I didn't want these images to get messed with by anybody. And sure enough, one of them, I sent one of these images online to a guy, and we were chatting about pictures of ghosts and all this stuff. And I sent just one image to him, and he doctored it and put a face on it. This guy, some young punk guy. And, I mean, why do that? Why do that? But people will do stuff like that. Fortunately, I
Oh
still
yeah.
have the other image files, but he messed with it just for the fun of it, right? And people do that kind of stuff. There are people like that. There's all kinds of weird people, and
That
yeah.
that's true. No, you're
And
right.
he sent it back to me, and he says, "Oh no, look, you can see his face. He's smiling." You know, and I'd explained what the guy looked like because I'd walked right up to him, stood in front of him, and looked at him. I know what he looks like. And then this guy puts a fake smiling face on him, which is obviously a fake thing, but still, there are people who will do stuff like that, and they're better at computers than I am. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. I just wanted to bring it up so people can see
Oh,
what it
yeah.
what it was
Cool.
talking about.
Yeah, I haven't seen
So
that image.
this is and you can this is not it's not okay. Here we go. Just let you see this. Yeah, me and Drew. Which actually I might be able to bring that episode. That's what I'll do. I can do that. Probably find that episode. But we looked at this and it was like when we saw it from the sky. It's like whoa, okay, UFO, okay. But if you look, and I don't know if it'll let us go outside enough, but because this isn't actually Google Earth. Let me see. If you look, there's land right around there. It's like this whole road that you see, windy road leading up to it. You can take there's Google street view that takes you all the way up that road, all the way up here to the front gate of this thing, and you can see it from the side, and you can see that it's not what people think it is. And actually, I think there's another image of this from the side, and I think they call it Vortac is the name of it. And let me see. There is a side image I want to show you if I could get it up here. Yeah, it's this here. See, save that image and try to bring this up here. Oh. You guys up here. All right, let me try to do this here and share the image that I downloaded here. All right, this is what it looks like from the side. So, yeah. So it's open space under there. It's not. It's not what it looks like. It's definitely not what it looks like. It's not what it appears to be. And like I said, there's a whole write up on what it actually is.
Looks like a
And I don't
platform,
know.
and from my aviation experience, that's a VOR antenna, which is an approach beacon, or it's a beacon to for basically direction finding for planes. And
There you go.
used,
That's exactly
used
what I recall it being. Yeah.
yeah, VORs are less critical now with GPS, but if you don't have GPS, and this is how planes navigate. They go
Yes,
from
sir.
they triangulate to these things.
So debunk. I mean, and we, like I said, all we had at the time when we first talked about it was that above image, and it's like, whoa, very compelling. Okay, this is strange that it would be exactly the shape. Like, where would you find a building that's perfectly round like that? And that's because it's not a building. That's because it's a radar, and it is not the thing that everybody. And this is all over the. It's crazy how many news outlets, online have brought this up, and I'm like, dude, it only takes a few minutes of research to find out that it's not what you think it is. So yeah, glad we were able to look at that and kind of knock that one off the table here. Um, Woo Riders, and he had this up here for a minute here. He said panel topic. Why does the phenomena tend to appear where human conflict is? What would be your guys' thoughts on that?
It's a great topic. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, what happened during the beginning of the Ukraine war, right? There were all kinds of crazy things going on, even to this day. Less so now. Maybe they just don't publish it, but there were people filming strange things going on as the drones were flying around, and people weren't sure what it was, and now here we are in another conflict, and most certainly same thing is happening again. So is the phenomenon watching over us, worried that we're going to get ourselves into trouble? And is that why they're present during the conflict? So to answer Woo Rider's question, that's my best guess.
All right, how about you? What do you think, Cosmic Joe? See, Big Ben
Well,
dropped
there's
out.
been a lot of UFOs sighted near volcanoes. So there's a lot of UFO pictures and videos sighting over volcanoes. But
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of UFO stuff all the time, and one of the shows I watched was Packed or Peaked. UFO pals, right? Um, this had a girl on there had a photo that she took of a UFO, and they debunked it as the lights on the train she was on was it was one of the lights on the train that looked like a UFO though. And you know you used that photo. Lou Alessandro used that photo on his research. Yeah, it was all fake.
Yep. I couldn't believe you fell for that. That was one of the things I was like, come on, man. You were in A-Tip. You were like looking at this stuff all the time. Like, how can you be fooled by some random photo? And this is really before people were just popping out AI photos all the time. But I agree. But looking at this, if I had to give my opinion, so it's the phenomena tend to appear where human conflict is. It maybe it had to do with just maybe they're coming to see if we're going to use a nuke, or they're afraid we're going to use a nuke, and maybe they feel like, okay, we have to be here so we can intervene immediately if something like that takes place, and if not, we'll kind of just stand back. And maybe that's why they're always seeing the conflict zones, or it could literally just be that they're all over the world, and it's just a lot of radar and a lot of you know surveillance, and that sort of technology is being used in the battlefield to where they're seeing them. Yeah, if they had that same technology in Idaho, they might also see the same thing. So it may not
Good
even
point.
be that they're in conflict zones. Because from my own sighting, and then the sightings that I've connected to it, they were very, very similar. I've seen these things, these same objects that I filmed, all over the world, and usually in groups greater than what I filmed. I've seen them in the groups of hundreds, and probably even more if you were to count each one, and going to Tear in the Sky with Caroline Corey. And literally, I just think these things are everywhere all the time. For what it, just like if you think of Starlink, right? You can, if you're anywhere in the world, and look up, if you have the ability to kind of zoom in on one, you'd see one if you looked, right? Because they're everywhere. And I think that's probably the same case with a lot of these craft. They're just all over, they're everywhere. And why wouldn't they be? Why would they only be in one particular area? Why wouldn't they, depending on what their purpose is, why wouldn't they have, strategically be placed all around the globe? It would only make sense.
Good point, Rob. What happens during a war? Everybody's looking up, right? What
Looking
happens
up and
during
looking down.
right? What happens? You oftentimes hear. You made me think of another case. Fireworks, Fourth of July fireworks, or New Year's Day fireworks. A lot of times, UFO sightings occur during those events. Why? Because people are looking up. So we're not looking up often under normal conditions, but a war, yeah. I mean, it's basically an air war, as is the case here, and people are looking for drones and jets and what have you. They're
Yeah.
looking at the sky. So there you go. There you go.
Looking in the sky, and
You may be right
Your Reaper drones are looking down at the ground for
at the
anything
ground.
moving, and they're catching these things because they're it's literally what their purpose is to find things that are anomalous. Imagine that. I mean, that's why they have so much data on these things, because they have those drones and that type of surveillance all over the globe. So they are seeing. They're definitely. So we're the ones just saying, "Hey, why do they only show up in military zones?" They're like, "No, they're everywhere, guys. We're our surveillance shows that they're everywhere. Everywhere we've looked, we've seen some of these things." And I bet that would be the conversation if you were able to speak to someone who was in the know. But guess what? You can't, because they're protected by NDAs, the good old NDAs, which doesn't let them talk about any of this stuff. Imagine that.
Great segue into the next topic that I think we absolutely have to talk about.
Yep,
The
take the lead. What is
the,
it?
the Disclosure Day trailer. We have to talk about this
Let's
because,
talk about it.
oh man, did you watch it? I forget who
I
brought
did
up,
watch it.
who
Yeah, I
mentioned it
did
in
too.
the chat last night, but I immediately watched it, and I could stick the link in the chat again now if people haven't seen it yet. But it is phenomenal. I have to say, Spielberg is just, and we all know this. He is masterful at what he does, and he just his whole approach to building the hype for this movie is spot on. And I was obviously each trailer is going to give us just a little bit more to whet our
Mm-hmm.
appetite, and that happened here. Now we know who Josh O'Connor's character is with this new trailer, as you know, so people, that's the biggest takeaway I took from it. We now know who his character is, and he is the guy with the NDA that's going to break it. So to go along with the topic you were just discussing, so he says these are the secrets they paid me to keep, right, or paid me to hide. So
What else did you get from there? Was there any other nuggets that you captured?
that was a biggie. Um, oh boy, it was the visuals were great. I guess in terms of the phenomenon itself, obviously we got to see a little bit more of the UFO in the clouds, a little bit more than what we saw in the previous trailer. Some of the phenomenon that was going on around the ground around the cars, I still haven't quite figured that out yet, which looked like blowing wind and the cars were getting thrown over by that. Clearly, there's something
Mm.
going on there. Um, the I think the other thing I took away is, remember you and I discussed this, Rob, separately off air last week, that what everyone is staring at in the trailer isn't Emily Blunt's weather forecast episode. It's, I
Right.
believe, the unveiling or his attempt at worldwide disclosure. And you did see that during this attempt, someone turns the lights off in the TV studio, right? Obviously, the government probably tries to shut it down. So I'm sure there's a big battle in this movie about them trying to get the word out and the government doing everything, including trying to kill them, right? With the whole train incident that you see in the trailer to
Oh
stop
yeah.
them. So yes, it's going to be a great movie. I mean, we're all really excited about it, but yes, those are the things that I took away. I don't know. What did you see in it?
Now we'll go to Cosmic Joe real quick. Cosmic Joe, did you catch anything, or did anything stick out to you when you watched the latest trailer?
No, I watched it, but it's all the same to me were the UFOs and the aliens, whatever. It's not the movies this year about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, but yeah, that's all. We'll
How about
see.
you, Bim Jim? Have you saw the latest trailer?
No, I don't watch movies.
Okay.
I don't watch movies. They're fiction, and I watch lectures. I like science lectures and stuff like that. I don't even like documentaries because they're full of, well, they're made like movies are made. So I prefer lectures. Like I listen to Avi Loeb every day, and he'll go over his paper and all that. I find that very interesting. But movies, nope.
Okay, here, beware. I'm glad you brought up Ivy Loeb. There is, I did a video on this, about a 10-minute video on my channel on the AI propaganda war, and pointed out the fake AI Ivy Loeb, and he's gone now as far as to make the fake AI Ivy Loeb YouTube page, where he's posting videos like 2, 3, 4 times a day. So just make sure you don't get fooled by that page, because it's a fake AI Ivy Loeb, and he's putting out he's saying the things Ivy Loeb would say, but
Hmm.
he's putting out like 3, 4 videos a day. Ivy Loeb does not have a YouTube page, so if you're seeing
Oh,
that, you might be yeah. Go look at that again and watch.
well,
Do this when you watch it again. Watch the clock in the background. Watch how the time doesn't change on it. He's sitting there talking for 15 minutes, and the time on the clock doesn't change in the background, which is one of the ways you can tell that it's AI. But it's very prevalent right now, and I he keeps popping up in my feed, and I keep saying don't recommend this channel, but there's a and people in the chat are like people in his comments are like, oh, thank you, Avi, you're the number one, and we're so glad that you're making videos now daily to help with this. I listen to Avi Loeb all the time, and he's getting thousands of views, sees thousands of subscribers, and it is not Avi Loeb. It is not Avi Loeb.
It's
I
an
found,
epidemic nowadays with that problem, Rob. It's
yeah.
terrible. I got fooled a few
I
times a few
I
a couple
reported
months
it.
ago.
I reported the channel with YouTube. I was like, I'm gonna report it because I know Avi Loeb doesn't know about this, and there's no way he has too many people being fooled. I'm reading the comments; they're all being fooled, thinking this is Avi Loeb sitting here in front of them saying this stuff, and I'm like, guys, it's not Avi Loeb. It's not Ivy Lowe, but if you have in your history, Jim, your YouTube history, like one of the most recent videos you've watched, go back and check that one out because Ivy Lowe doesn't really release videos. He's usually like on news segments and things like that, but he rarely has anything that he just releases and it's just him. So I will go and take a look at that
Well,
for sure.
I want to see Abbey Loeb go over his papers
Hmm.
because he's prolific writer of scientific papers. Globally, he's extremely high in that measure of a scientist. And so that's what I want. I want to see him go over his papers and his, scientific papers, which are peer reviewed. And he goes over. That's what I want to see. I want to see the data and analyze the data. That's the scientific way of looking at it. So there is a channel on YouTube. Uh, it's called Professor Abe Loeb, and he's got the swollen eyebrow, which Abbey Loeb explained that. I don't know. I've been assuming I'm watching the real Abbey Loeb because he goes over his papers. That's what I want to see. And then sometimes he's interviewed by journalists. And then one thing you have to understand about Abbey Loeb, when he's being interviewed for a news program, uh, he has to make it real simple. He's got to dumb it way down, and you can't get any information out of that. So I want to see his papers, and I know I follow other scientists who are studying Three Eye Atlas, and I go over there. They have hypotheses, and so I came out with my own hypothesis about what Three Eye Atlas is, and it's
Hmm.
based on some knowledge I gained, which it's accurate science that there are probably more planets in interstellar space than there are planets that are orbiting around stars, right? And that's just
Hmm.
known by the process of planet formation. So our sun's only 5 billion years old. It started out as a big cloud about a quarter of a light year across. And then very, very slowly it began to fall into the middle. And then once you got enough hydrogen in the middle to light it up, then the star lit up. Our sun, one day it just lit up, right, with fusion. So, and then that changed the way the solar system formed, and you had planets forming, and then those planets got into orbits which were not stable. They started having gravitational interactions which would throw one of the planets either out or in. So some went into the sun, some went out, and became interstellar planets. And this is why they say there are so many interstellar planets out there and interstellar objects. So I thought, well, what could this Theory Atlas be? Well, it could be a chunk of one of these planets. And the way it was
Hmm.
acting with its chemical, its isotope ratios, the isotope ratios on 3R Atlas are way off. They're so far away from our isotope ratio of our solar system. It just haywire as hell. So okay, fine, that's fine. Don't panic. What that means is that Um, it means, well, one thing they figure for sure is 3 Atlas is very, very old. It's older than our sun. So it's seven, they figure 7 to 12 billion years old, going by the isotope ratios. And that's really old. So that thing's been drifting through space for a long, long time. Could have come into all kinds of interactions, collisions, gravitational interactions. Gone through a lot of stuff over the that many billions of years. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's no wonder it looks strange to us, and we can't figure it out. I mean, going over all the data, we really cannot uh, come to any positive, absolute conclusions of any kind. But we do know those things about it. Its isotope ratios are way out of whack, and that's really very important information. Now
Well,
jumping from
uh,
that though to this idea of what do we do about it? Now we know that these interstellar objects come through the inner solar system very often. One a year, something like that. We know this because we only just put up the satellites, which are we put up these special kind of telescopes that are set out from the Earth, and they're usually in orbit around the sun. And we just put a few of these out that had the programming and the type of lenses and so on that could pick up these interstellar objects. So it's not that all of a sudden there's interstellar objects coming through. It's that all of a sudden we could see them. And now we've
mm-hmm.
seen, I think, 4 or 5, something like that. Now it's just that we can see them, that they suddenly appear. So what we should do is put out more um, telescope, telescopes on satellites, and put them out in certain locations. I think the Lagrange points of Jupiter would be a very good place for them. Place like that where they can pick up the object sooner, earlier, and therefore gather more data on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe even have uh, uh, propulsion so that they could send a probe to intersect with the object, the interstellar
Right.
object, intersect with it, go fly right by it, gather material from it, whatever is necessary. So that would be a valid expenditure of space money. I would say it'd be a good place to spend the money because we can learn a lot from that. That's all new information to us, and so that would
Yeah.
be. And yeah, that's
No,
all I've
yeah,
got.
I'm with that. I'm with that. I'm with that. But I do want to let you know that Professor Avi Loeb page you're talking about is the AI Avi Loeb. So whoever's feeding that AI model, you have to just be wary of the information they're putting into that because it's not all coming. Some of it's coming from Avi because I noticed they've taken some of his speeches that he's done on other news stations and they've taken like the transcripts of that and fed it into the AI Avi. So sometimes he's talking about the normal stuff that he talks about, but and here's yeah, I might as well show this. Well, first let me answer this real quick because we were talking about earlier the Disclosure Day trailer and what somebody saw in it. I did have one takeaway from that. I did see in that trailer the guy you're talking about, Mateo, the character. What's his name? Okay,
Josh O'Connor.
the yeah dark haired guy. So
Yep.
so what I saw from him in part of that trailer, he says something like uh the girl's like, I can't understand what she's saying, and he was like, I can.
Oh yeah.
And so
The
I'm like,
clicking.
okay, so he just is able to understand this language, or are they pointing to the fact that people may be hybrids and
Mm,
may automatically be able to pick up on this language because there's this deep hybrid history here on the planet, which would make someone who wasn't aware previously suddenly aware by the fact that they could understand this foreign language immediately. And so that's the nugget that I picked up from that they're touching potentially on the hybrid aspect, and it's going to be unveiled that most of us are probably, or all of us are hybrids on some level. You know what I mean?
And this may be coming back to the whole 7 billion comment. Remember the whole issue with the
Mm-hmm.
the 7 billion number from the first
Mm-hmm.
trailer. Remember, and I think you alluded to it at during one of your presentations about it, and my thought was, obviously
Yeah.
we know the world has got 8+ billion. So are they implying that a billion people, a billion of Earth's inhabitants are hybrids
And see,
or
they were
something?
talking
That
when
is,
they said that they were. Some people were like, "Well, maybe it's from like 10 years in the past, or it's." And that was an angle that
yeah,
people were taking, which is why the
possible.
difference was there. But
Possible.
yeah, it's. I think there's still too early to tell, and that was the only thing that I got from it. But I did want to, since we touched on this real quick,
Cool.
I had done this like 8 minute video. Want to go ahead and just show this real quick because I think it's important. I think it should have probably been seen. And since we're talking about awareness and being fooled on what's out there, then we should be able to see this here. I
As
don't
we all
know if
know,
it's gonna.
AI has become prevalent in today's time, and with that comes a lot of concerns. Well, for one, the fact of it being used as propaganda. There are various cases of this. We're going to go ahead and go over a few things here today. All right, let's start with this. What is propaganda? Why is it used? How should we handle it? And most importantly, what can you do about it? All right, number one, what is propaganda? Propaganda is the deliberate spread of information, often biased or misleading, to influence the opinions, the emotions, and actions of a group to benefit one particular sponsor. It's used to promote a political cause or point to a view that can be distributed through various means, including speeches, posters, films, and social media. Examples including advertising, public relations, government information campaigns, and historical instances from Nazi Germany and the horrors there to the Soviet Union. Here's some of the key characteristics. The primary goal is to sway public opinion, attitudes, emotions, or behavior. Biased or misleading information. Propaganda often includes information that is often one-sided or not true in nature. What does this mean? A few key ways AI is used in propaganda would be mass content creation of persuasive deepfakes, AI creating videos showing someone saying something they didn't say, automated dissemination through bot networks, and lastly, automated censorship. This is very important. Authoritarian regimes using machine learning to scan and automatically remove online content they deem unfavorable, making censorship more widespread and effective. We know YouTube uses AI algorithms and AI programs in order to see if you violated community guidelines, for instance. Now, we've always had an issue with bots spreading information if you look at all the election cycles as far as the political sphere. However, Elon Musk just recently on X exposed propaganda accounts showing that they were created in other countries. Now, these bots were affecting things happening here in the United States. That's a problem. Then you have political channels with AI hosts in a talking head format spewing propaganda talking points. Now, this has made its way into the UFO and science world, depicting Michio Kaku and Avi Loeb talking about the interstellar comet or alien tech, depending on what side of the conversation you fall on, 3i Atlas. Could these be government controlled accounts or just a person having fun in his bedroom? Now, you can tell by the comments depicted on some of these videos that this tactic is working to fool a percentage of these viewers. Now, obviously, the public figures depicted in these videos could step forward at any time to disprove these AI videos and to disprove the statements being made. But think about it. What if they couldn't speak for themselves? Like, for instance, if they happen to pass away, these comments and statements would be part of a historical record. At that point, it'd be hard to disseminate what was AI and what wasn't. Now, this is a way that it could fool you. going forward. Now think about this. Now that AI counterpart has gained your trust and credibility and could be used for misinformation on its own, a totally fictional AI personality. To show you by comparison, here's a video of Avi Loeb speaking on a national news outlet in regards to Three-Eye Atlas.
That's why I'm skeptical on this whole object being of alien origin.
Well, this is a strange question because whoever asked this question is skeptical because of ideas that have nothing to do with what we know about physics. We don't know if it's possible to travel faster than light. In fact, Einstein's theory of relativity says it's not. So the person who asks the question says, why couldn't they discover faster than light travel? Well, because as far as we know, it doesn't exist, okay? And the second is wormholes. As far as we know, it doesn't exist. We don't know.
And to compare that, here is an AI-generated Avi Loeb video speaking on the same subject.
Rewrite everything we think we know about interstellar visitors. Just captured on the 11th of November, 2025, barely 3 days ago, these stunning exposures reveal a ghostly expanding ring encircling the coma of comet Three-Eye Atlas alongside a sunward antitail that is stretching out like a cosmic finger pointing right back at the Sunday.
With these two videos side by side, you may be able to tell the difference here in the moment. But if you ran across this AI-generated video online, you too might be fooled into thinking that this was something that Avi Loeb actually said. That's a problem. And of course, if you look at these videos side by side, you may be able to pick which video is the fake video. However, if you see this video in your YouTube feed, you may not be able to determine in the moment that the AI video was actually AI. This is evident in some of the comments that have been posted here. Take a look. Now here's the scary part. This could and likely will evolve from human-assisted AI propaganda to a much more powerful automated effort by AI alone. Now what can you do about it? Anything deemed AI slop or propaganda, report the video. Leave comments advising others that this is AI created content and recommend they report it as well. Now remember, AI is in its infancy and has already mastered the art of manipulation. We have to stay vigilant and fight back until we gain the tools to help us with auto detection in our fight to keep AI in its place. Let's keep the conversation going in the comment section of this video. Please share, like, and consider becoming a subscriber. This has been a social bit. More to come. Talk to you soon.
And so I
Nailed it.
wanted to show that because literally the AI video, the AI Avi Loeb video, this is what's being spread around, and everyone is buying that this is Avi Loeb.
Dangerous
Everyone
stuff,
is
man.
buying that it's Avi Loeb. Okay, dangerous, because then they can put any message through. If you trust this AI outlet that you're not aware is AI, they can feed anything through that channel. And if you are giving the benefit of the doubt that this is Avi Loeb, you're just like, hey, this is Avi Loeb. So he's smart. He knows what he's talking about. And even though he just fed you a bunch of horse crap, there were videos I couldn't believe. It said something like a ghostly ring around Three-Eye Atlas. I'm like, Avi Loeb would never say that. He would never say that. But that was one of the videos that they put out on that channel. And they were pumping like 4 or 5 videos out a day under Avi Loeb's name. And I'm like, yeah, he doesn't even have a channel. You know, he's not putting that stuff out. There's a literal, some other person is feeding that AI model and presenting that information to the public. And there's a group of people out there who are buying that this is Avi Loeb. We had a few more people join, it looks like, in the back too, as we were doing this here. Let's see. We have a Tyler Rusnitsky. How you doing, sir? Okay. All right. I guess we're gonna get those right when you do a live show.
Do
It's
you know
expected.
Brian Keating? Dr. Brian Keating? He has
Oh yeah.
a YouTube show. Brian,
Yes.
Dr. Brian Keating. Yes. He has great guests on there, great people on. And that's where I get some real science on there,
Oh yeah. Oh
as
yeah.
well as I've been to many lectures in person given by PhDs in astronomy and theoretical physics in person. I've been there, and and that's what I do on Friday nights. That's my idea of a good Friday night. But
Yeah.
yeah, so the information I gave you about the isotope ratios and all that, that didn't come to me. Well, some of it came from Brian Lowe, but the stuff about the formation of solar systems and the determination of the age of Three Eye Atlas, that's all from all my other science learning from through my whole life. Like I've been doing science for 55 years, so I know a big pile of science, that's for sure. And I was trying to find this name of this other guy, Keating. He's good. I'll go there and for good science, high quality. And then there's this other guy. He's sometimes presented as a ufology science guy, right? And I'm trying to think of his name, but I go to he does astronomy uh, live streams where he's got a whole bunch of telescopes and he can switch from telescope to telescope all over the place. And I'm trying to think of his name. His last name sounds Italian. Do you know who I'm talking about? Anybody? Anybody? Anyway, he's very good. He does these shows about astronomy, and I watch them sometimes. And it's above my knowledge of telescopes, but it's really pretty fascinating stuff. So I judge information, and one of my main filters is scientific language. And if a person is not speaking proper scientific language, well,
Mm-hmm.
like
You
Linda
can
Moulton
sniff that
Howe,
out. Yeah.
For example, I mean, she's done some great work, but when she starts giving her opinions basing based on what she knows about science, she does not know science. She does not speak scientific language, and that's one of my filters that I use for judging information. I'm very careful about it. So yeah, I said my bit about Three Eye Atlas and how well whether or not whether or not it has aliens on it or it's an alien craft. I don't bother with that. That's got nothing. We have no evidence of that whatsoever that I could tell, and that's not really Avi Loeb's main point either. That's I mean, he's got his Galileo project where he did that work on the object that hit the Earth and was picked up by NASA and a bunch of other sources of information, and he went through the information, analyzed it, and found there was an object from outer space that appeared to be an interstellar object because of its speed, and that speed was recorded by all manner of multiple different data sets, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so he spent the money to go down to the South Pacific Ocean with his Galileo project, and he did some really good work there. It's quite shocking and amazing what he did there. It's so the guy is a really top-notch scientist. There's no doubt about it. So wherever I can find the real Avi Loeb, and I noticed all those fake Avi Loeb YouTube pages. I can see that. That's pretty obvious. But especially too, if you want to learn what Avi Loeb knows, you I never listen to him when he's talking to a regular news broadcaster. There's no point to that because he's talking about finding tennis balls in his backyard and all that crap and trying to dumb it down for the regular
Right.
news. Obviously, he's trying to dumb it down. I want to see his papers. That's what I want. And I should
Yeah.
try to actually get a hold of the real papers and
He
read
has a
them.
Medium website. It's like Avi-Loeb at medium.com or something like that. That's where he does releases all his papers there. So that'd be a good place to go. And yeah, I'm up on it too. I definitely dive into a lot of those same things, a lot of scientific stuff. just because I want to know what's going on. But I always would, as far as that goes, it's a grain of salt too, because as we know, science keeps moving the goalposts every 20 to 30 years. So what they say is true today, they change their perspective on it in 20 years. So I watch it to for the same reasons you watch it for, but I still don't take a lot of it to heart. Like when they start doing things like talking about the age of the universe and things like that. I'm like, it's a good chance that you're not correct about the age of the universe. It's just, there's no way to know that. To know
I know
that,
that. I know
you know
that.
what I
I mean,
mean?
oh yeah, very well.
The
Yeah,
age
like I
of
have degrees, so I'm
the
very much
age
aware of
of
that.
the carbon dating and things like that. I just for a person that's only been studying for a small amount of years in comparison to some of the ages that they're spitting out there. I just there's school can only teach you so much, and it's a good guess. And I think a lot of science is a lot of educated guessing, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not, and when you're not, you change. Like Pluto, I always talk about Pluto was a planet. When I was a kid, Pluto was a planet. It was in all the books. Now they made it not a planet. Now they had to burn all those books
Well,
and rewrite the books.
that's just a change of definition of a word. That's all, and that's going to happen anyway. So now we have to change the definition of comet, and we have to get a more precise definition for the word comet. What exactly does that mean? It's an object. I would say the new definition should be that it's an object that comes from an environment like the Oort cloud. And we could get
Mm-hmm.
comets coming through the inner solar system that actually come from other stars. The comets from other stars are entirely possible.
Yeah.
But these other objects like Three Atlas and what was it, Oumuamua. Now those were not they were not comets because they didn't behave anything like comets. So, or especially according to the gases emitted and the spectrograph of the, got to look at the spectrograph of the gases and so on. Um, and that's how you can tell that they're not comets at all. And that's simply the definition of the word. That's all. Same with the planet. Just a definition, new definition. Yeah, that
It,
changes all the time.
and another thing that bugs me, that really bothers me about some scientists, because not all scientists study outer space and planets and things and universes, but a few things that bug me really is when you think about back before, I think pre 1996, they didn't even know all those other universes were out there. So they had this other perspective on what could be possible out there. And so how that's just such a drastic change from then until now. And then also the fact that you're looking for things that are billions of light years away, but you can't see the things that are literally right above your head. And that bugs me a lot. Like
Mhm.
you're looking past the things that we're seeing in the sky in our immediate vicinity, and you're not seeing these things, but you're looking for trace, like you said, gas spectrometry and to determine the consistency or what's in the atmosphere of this distant planet, but you're not paying attention to the atmosphere right here where you're at, because if you were, then you would already have this other thing that we're researching and looking at right now. And it's like, so are you doing your job, or are you doing your job and you're not doing it well, or are you purposely looking past what's in our skies, for monetary purposes, or like what are we doing here? And so that
Well,
that that's where scientists, for me,
yeah,
I
I've
like,
used
how can you explain that as a scientist?
Yeah, I've used the emission spectrograph and also various instruments that rely on the absorption bands of different uh, elements. So I've used the instruments in the lab, so I know what
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about pretty much. And if they're BSing me, I know that too. Right now, I'm very critical of mainstream science. I'm very critical. Uh, uh, and especially when you get into things like, well, in theoretical physics, they're so obsessed with the EM spectrum, and now we have the new gravity spectrum. And I gave a lecture on that back in around 2015 when they first detected gravity waves, and a couple of years later they were building telescopes, gravity telescopes, which we now have operating, and this expands physics, theoretical physics, I think, greatly. If the mainstream science can start thinking in terms of other spectrums, because I think there are other spectrums. One, I believe there's evidence that there is a consciousness spectrum, and even if the aliens, well, the aliens have technology that telescopes. You could even say they have a thing like a consciousness telescope that can see consciousness, which would, you know, it makes sense to me because the Russians did a very empirical, repeatable experiment back in the 1970s that demonstrated the existence of a consciousness spectrum. And I think that is one of the things, one of the pieces of knowledge that's being hidden. It's known by, the people who hide the UFOs, the CIA, I call them, or the intelligence agencies that are against disclosure. They know there's a consciousness spectrum, but our mainstream science is not even going in the right direction of finding this consciousness spectrum, and that's a big hole in mainstream science. Yeah, I'm very critical of mainstream science. And a lot of people, when they want to fake science talk, they talk about quantum theory. But there's actually top theoretical physicists, a few of them, who are saying quantum theory is wrong, and quantum mechanics is wrong, and that's like 10% of top theoretical physicists are saying no, quantum theory is wrong. And yet when people want to fake science, they're going on and on about entanglement and all this stuff. And I think quantum theory is a load of garbage and will be replaced once you introduce this idea of the consciousness spectrum. Then you
Mm-hmm.
see there's no longer any need for quantum theory, and it'll be out the window, I think. And I think also, and this gets really important because thinking that way, you have to start questioning general relativity, GR theory, from 1915. You got to start questioning that, but that is the primary theory behind all of our theoretical physics, and the physicists, they won't challenge GR theory. They won't look
Right.
at it skeptically and say, well, maybe this is wrong, because and I think I've gone back to the 1905 special theory of relativity, and that's my baseline now. I think that's correct, but I think GR is now suspect. And Keating, you get a guy like Brian Keating, who I call the Pope of Science. He will never question general relativity. It's his religion. He cannot question it, right? He can't see
Mm-hmm.
anything that might question GR because it's the strongest theory they've got. So that's and this idea that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. That
Exactly.
that comes from GR theory, and they treat it like a
The,
flippin' religion. That bugs the
here,
hell out of me, man.
this is what I would say. There is and maybe you saw this too, but recently talking about GR, general relativity. I just watched a excellent episode of Jesse Michaels with Eric Weinstein and Eric Davis, and they were, oh my gosh, if 3 hours of just information, and they were talking about that, and just like you said, it's a model that they, well, a lot of them live by, and aren't, and it's obvious that there's more than that. There's some other physics out there, because we're seeing things, doing things that break the law of physics in our own skies, which takes me back to, why wouldn't they should want to examine these things that are in the sky to kind of get an understanding of what this new physics is, or if it fits within general relativity and it's just, it's something that's explainable. They're not even taking the time to do that. and it's mind boggling to me why they wouldn't be. It's like it's
Mm,
the easiest thing to do. Is right here. There's a lot of data on it. The government has all this data on it. NASA for sure has a lot of data on it. There's a lot of data, but they for some reason they don't feel the need or want to. And maybe it's like you stated, because it's like a religion to them, and they don't want to look at anything that might break that, that state of mind for them, and that might be what it is. I don't know. But the
hmm
Eric Weinstein, Eric Davis interview just came out. It's a debate, really. It's not an interview. It's them debating each other on a lot of these topics, and it is just mind-blowingly amazing, intriguing conversation. I would recommend anybody that's into that should go watch that episode. It was enjoyable.
I'll search it because Eric's brother lives just south of me, and he's been my professor in biology for about, I don't know, 7 8 years. He's my lead biology professor. Is the brother of Eric Weinstein. That's Brett,
Yes,
Brett
Brett.
Weinstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's been my biology professor for longer now. But I will look up what you mentioned there. Yes,
Oh
I want to
man,
see what Eric's
you
got to say.
Jim, you would enjoy this one, man. I'm telling you. I know you would for surely enjoy it. It is it just came out maybe not even a week ago, and it is 3 hours of back and forth. Weinstein is challenging Eric Davis on, certain things that Eric Davis has said about the program and these UFOs, and he's challenging why it doesn't make sense that he would have took this particular angle, and why don't they have. So you're saying there's no astro, or what do you say, theoretical physicists involved in these projects? And he was like, why? It doesn't make sense. That should be the number one people included in it. And they're going back, and it's very, very good. Very, very good. But
Mhm.
Eric Davis did say during this interview, which maybe he did this before and I just was unaware, but he confirmed that the Wilson Davis documents were real. He confirmed it. He said, yeah, they're real.
Mhm.
I don't remember him ever saying that they were actually real. He said it in this interview. He said, yes, they're real.
How
That
long
I
Mhm.
can
ago was that
confirm that
interview,
those,
Rob?
not even a week ago, just came out.
That's
If you
that's
type in,
actually news then. You're right.
yes,
He always denied it and basically said nothing about the Wilson Davis memos.
yes, he says
Mm.
verbatim right there on the interview. I was mind blown. I watched the whole interview. 3 hours. I was out doing stuff. Got a TV in the car, and I had it on playing. Watched the whole thing, and this guy said, Jesse Michaels asked him about the Wilson Davis document, and he says, yes, it's real. Those are real.
Yeah, Dolan says that too, right?
Yeah,
Richard
yeah, but
Richard
I've never heard
Dolan.
it come out of Eric Davis' mouth, because they
Right.
were
Richard
asking
Dolan
Wilson or
said it
Davis.
originally,
Well,
Yeah,
all
but
it
never out
proves
of
is that
Davis' mouth, yes.
information is being kept secret. That's all it proves, is that there is very deep information, and that, which I've always accepted anyway. So I don't need much convincing on that. Yeah, like, okay. So we could talk about mainstream science, and you could talk about this other thing. You could call it the black science, which is the science that is hidden deliberately by the intelligence agencies. That science, right? And Dolan is aware of that, very much so, and that's what he's pushing, right? And I believe that's very much so, very much so. Like I said, the Russians, they did an experiment which demonstrated the consciousness spectrum, and this was back in the 1970s. Well, if I know about that, who else would know about it? And it's perfectly repeatable. That's the thing with science. And so naturally, other intelligence agencies of other countries would repeat that experiment. Of course they would. It's perfectly repeatable, and it demonstrates that there is a consciousness spectrum. So I'm sure it's well known in outside of mainstream science. There's a lot of stuff that's known outside mainstream science. That's for sure. Yeah. So mainstream science is good for engineers, and that's what I am. I'm an engineer. So who's had a
definitely.
hobby in theoretical. physics for a long time as well. But yeah, oh, mainstream science is it's just wrecked, man. Academia is off the rails, so off the rails. Everywhere I look, wherever I do a deep dive, I find that academia is wrong. Like for example, with the pyramids and the age of the pyramids and all that sort of thing, and who built them and how they built them and so on. I mean, that's academia says the Egyptians built the pyramids. Well, that's obviously wrong. I mean, it's so obvious, and the evidence is right in front of your eyes. But and that's all over mainstream science. It's a mess. I did a deep dive
Mm-hmm.
on the viruses thing too. I don't want to say the wrong word there, but on the I did a deep dive on the viruses stuff. And for 5 years, I did a deep dive on that. And the other day, I was in the drugstore, and I went in to get some shaving stuff, and there was a lineup. And I thought, what are these people all lining up for? And they're mostly older people. And then I saw a guy stand there who I know very well, um, Bruce, Bruce Milne. I know him very well. He's a PhD in biology, and he was mayor of our town twice. And I've had a lot of discussions with him. And anyway, he was lined up to get stabbed. I couldn't believe it. I said, Bruce, what are you doing? My jaw dropped open, literally, and I said, the words I said to Bruce were, I am shocked, Bruce. I am shocked. And I walked away. But I saw a couple of days later, I met him in the grocery store when he was not with his wife, because I didn't want to scare his wife. And I said, I said, Bruce, are you aware of the original virus, the number one virus, the SARS-CoV-1, was not transmissible from person to person? Are you aware of that? And are you aware of the mathematics of the furin cleavage site? Are you aware of that stuff? Because it's like all this data, which is available for study, shows to over 99.9% certainty when you do the math that the virus was designed in a laboratory as a bioweapon. I mean, it's just 99.9% certainty. And this comes to me from many PhDs, listening to their papers and all that, studying the hell out of it and doing the math. But anyway, that's way off topic, but it just shows you how bad mainstream is. I mean, even academia it's just gone right off the rails. I know that very well. And Brett Weinstein too he talks about that too. He says something very similar to me, that mainstream science is just effed. Hold to hell, man. It's
Well,
so
I'll
bad.
I'll tell you what about that debate, because this literally was a debate, and Eric Weinstein's style. You know how when he's
Hmm.
debating someone, how he approaches the conversation, and it's just awesome because the thing is that he's challenging the things that and coming from a scientist perspective, like he's challenging things that aren't being done, and he's like, well, it doesn't make sense, and these are things that we wouldn't think of. Well, maybe you would, Jim, being with your background, but the average person wouldn't challenge these sorts of ideas when it comes to the things we hear Eric Davis say. And so to have someone that is on the same level mentally, intellectually, to be able to bring up certain things that are really intriguing. And now I would love to hear Eric Davis answer this question. It was kind of one of those things where it's just you're on the edge of your seat, because we've heard Eric Davis say all these different things, and there's not really places for, unless you are in the know, where you can challenge the things that he's saying. But Eric Weinstein was able to do that, and it was cool to see Eric Davis have responses for some of these things, and it really, I think just opened up a window on. He brought us some really good points. Like I said, he said there's a particular type of physicist. I don't recall what, but he was like they should be like, if you have a problem that involves like physics, then there should this you should have this type of person should be part of that staff, and why aren't they? And so, and Eric Davis is explaining
what the government's approach is to trying to figure this out, that they're not worried about the physics, they're worried about some other angle of it. And it was just very enlightening and kind of just opened my eyes. It's worth a watch and a rewatch, to tell you the truth. So I would definitely recommend that people out there, if you have some time this weekend, if you're running around doing something or doing work at home, put it on in the background and listen to this debate. It's the best one that I've heard from either of those two guys in a long, long time. And it really hits the things that we're talking about and the things that we want to know. And then once again, cherry on top is Eric Davis confirms that the Wilson Davis memos are real. And just that was just out of left field, just unexpected for that to be part of the conversation, but it was. And it was just like, I meant to do a show about this and have a conversation, so I guess that's what we're doing now. But I would love for you guys to watch it, and then maybe we could come back and talk about it again next week. I think that would be an awesome conversation to have after everyone has watched it. But with that being said, I want to go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up here. We've been here for about 2 hours. We had a great conversation. I think it's been awesome. We're going to be doing this again, obviously, next Friday. So for those out there that didn't get a chance to come up on stage, make sure you come on up. Chewy Chewbacca, let me see. Let me bring that up here. That is awesome, dude. Go ahead, show that.
Blue Canna is his name. Blue Canna.
Maybe that's the predator that I met. Maybe that's what he looks like.
Maybe.
Because that's how big
that
he
is. That is awesome.
Just a toy.
That is awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody coming up on the stage here tonight, and even the trolls. I appreciate the trolls coming through, giving us a laugh. We had a great laugh, so applause for everybody that came up today. You guys have been awesome, made the show what it was, and definitely some compelling stuff. And like I say, yeah, definitely go watch those interviews, and let's probably talk about it next week. At least be good to bring up for a moment, because I really want to see what you guys think about some of the bombs that were dropped in the conversation that was had. Outside of that, do you guys want to leave the audience with anything? We'll go one by one. Colin Joe, you got anything you want to say before you go?
Just be good to each other, Always look to answer what somebody is saying and doing to you before you take action.
Okay, I love that, Cosmic Joe. Appreciate that. Also, let's go with Bim Jim. You want to go ahead and leave everybody with something here?
Well, I'm still looking for some researcher who will go through my portals. And this is a major deal. If I could get these portals recognized and investigated by other people as I have investigated them, because they blow mainstream science out of the water. My portals, which you can listen to on my YouTube page.
Yep. So definitely go to Jim's YouTube page, guys, because he's talked about it on the show before too. And it'd be awesome. Maybe we could revisit it again next week. And then Mateo, anything you want to leave everybody with?
Nothing in particular. Just thanks to everybody who participated. Love all the great topics here. Love the panel here. It was great stuff. Thank you, everybody. And keep looking up.
Keep looking up. What a great way to end it. Gems from everybody. You guys have a great rest of your night. I'm going to drop you off and end the show. Take care.
Adios.
All right, guys. Yes. Another awesome show right here on the Friday Night Calling Show. We had a couple trolls, but like I said, it was all good, right? Came out, and weren't disrespectful. They want to have a little fun. It's Friday night. Why not have some fun, right? That's what we did tonight, talking about the phenomena and a bunch of other stuff, too. That's what this is for. This is for exactly what you saw tonight. So definitely don't be afraid to come on stage next week. We'd love to hear your opinion on just maybe something random, but also maybe something to do with phenomena. And yeah, just your input is what makes this show what it is. So we'll be doing this again next Friday. Every Friday we'll be doing this because it's the Friday Night Call-In Show. That's why.
We'll also be bringing back the After Hours radio show, which I worked on the audio earlier today, and I've got it. I fine-tuned it to perfection, so that when we do the first After Hours show, it should be mwah, chef's kiss. So be looking forward to that. I'm just gonna book someone just so we can get a show out the way. Don't be surprised if you see a notification for tomorrow. I may just have booked someone just so we can get one out the way. With that being said, also we'll have the UFO news show coming back next week as well. We'll talk about the latest on what's going on. We'll come up with some great topics. If you have any ideas for things that you guys want to see, you can let me know at any time. We have a community post right here on this page. Just go ahead and drop a line there. And please, as well, for this video, hit the like button if you can. Just take a moment. Let's take 30 seconds real quick. Just look right under your screen. Everyone here, just go ahead, hit the like button. And then once the show ends, if you can, if you have time, it'd be cool if you left a comment. Just either way, you liked it, you didn't like it. It just shows YouTube that there's interaction on this page. And as well, if you are a lurker out there, someone new, I saw a few new names out there. Please consider hitting that subscribe button and coming back, hit the notification bell. We have these conversations along with other ones with the other shows. I think it's a pretty cool place for you to come and kind of get your mind going, right? It's the topics that keep you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. And hopefully you walk away from this show with something else to think about. Once again, watch that Eric Weinstein, Eric Davis debate on Jesse Michaels. I'm promoting that tonight. Watch it this weekend. You will not be disappointed. Kim Jellin, I saw you out there as well. Definitely thank you for coming on in, Kim Jellin. Jessica S., Woo Rider DG, Mateo C. Tech, Cat Tongue. You snuck up in here, Cat Tongue. Appreciate you. Yeah, we definitely talked about Phoenix Lights earlier tonight, Cat Tongue, 29th anniversary. So shout out to Tom King, because I know he must be doing something with that. I saw earlier as well. Let me see. Anybody else we can say good night to and have a great weekend? Miss Catherine Jones, I know she'll be rewatching this. Maggie M10, who's on the other side of the globe, I know she'll get to this as well. So for anybody on the replay, team replay, have a great weekend as well. And guess what? We're going to go ahead and get up out of here. Thanks for coming on into the show. Have a great rest of your night and take care of each other, like Cosmic Joe said. Later.